Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday morning and I am out in the shop. I have nothing to do today. Um, this season has just been upside down and looks like our Christmas plans are not going to be what they usually are. So a little more time to myself. I'm trying to get up off the couch, get out in the shop, and just goof around just to keep myself from sitting on the couch all day. Couple of things. I'm working on the metal lathe, and I'm not going to show you what I'm working on yet, but I bought a rod of aluminum. It's like an 1.5 inch rod by 12 inches long, and I'm making something that is a little less than a half inch in, probably, well, way less than a half inch, 3/8 maybe, of an inch in length. So if it works, I'll be able to make a dozen or 15 of them out of that rod if I choose to do so. The first one I'm going to school on right now. I'm trying to remember the tool and learn and just get the thing to where it works nice. I don't expect that one to turn out too nice. I'll probably do a second one. Hopefully that one turns out nice. If not, we'll do a third. We're going to just practice. But once we get it and I figure it out, I think I'll turn one on camera for you guys. It's just a fun little project. And like I said, I just got to get myself back over there and just keeping after it. I'm going to put that on hold for a little bit because I'm back over here. I was cutting a penny the other day, and I'm back over here. I want to do another one today. And let me show you something I found in the shop. Whenever Lowe's was getting rid of all of their Bessie clamps because they were becoming an Irwin shop, that's all they sell now really is the Irwin clamps. I picked up a bunch of Bessie F clamps at a real reasonable price. And this is a carver's vise they had, and I didn't pay much for it at all. I got it super cheap. And you notice it's got a ball on it, so I can loosen this up and put this vise in all kinds of angles. It's really for carving, but I've got it at a 90 degree to the base, and I've got a penny there, which I'll be able to take my saw down here, and I'll be able to saw and remove all of the negative space from the penny. So I'm going to practice a little bit more of my coin cutting. The nice thing is this has rubber jaws on it. Holds really well. You don't need this. I showed you guys this little jig here. Works great. But is a lot easier if this holds the penny than it is if I try to hold it with my index finger, my middle finger of my right hand while I cut. So we're going to have a little fun today. I'm going to cut another coin out. When I'm done, I probably will take off over there and goof around on the metal lathe and see if I can move that project forward. Regardless of what I do, I'll keep you guys posted today. Another thing that we've got to work on, and I don't know if I'll get to it today or not, I'm hoping over this holiday before I have to go back to work, I mentioned that my receiver went out on me. It still plays. You could still hear noise coming through the speakers, but it's like I've lost the amp or something because there's no volume to that noise. It's like if you play a record without turning on your receiver, you can kind of hear the record in the background, but it's super faint. And I got some great advice sent to me on what to look at. So at some point over the next couple of days, we're going to get that down and we're going to start working on that to see if we can get it fixed. I hate to buy a new one. I mean, if I have to, I will, because I like having music in the shop. But if I can take it apart and buy a few parts and figure it out, all the better. That'll just make it more fun. And like I said, as I do that, I'll probably show that if you guys are interested. So with that, I'm going to let you go for a little bit. I'm going to get busy working on this penny just for fun. This is just something I'm trying to teach myself. I'm trying to get better at it because maybe I'll use it, maybe I won't. But I think this is a tool and a technique that I can use to embellish a lot of other projects. Got another penny here that I cut out. I don't know if you can see it or not, but right there is a little crack. I was using the vise, and I guess with the, I need to be a little gentler with moving the saw up and down because I guess wiggling back and forth in the vise, it wiggled and broke loose right there. Not a big deal. I'm happy with how that turned out. I cut everything out except "In God We Trust" and the image of Lincoln, but just experimenting a little bit. So this is not bad. And you'll notice I'm using a newer penny. This was a 2017, I think. These are the zinc pennies with the copper coating. I really like solid copper pennies, and I don't plan to cut any of those unless I get something really special. I might cut one or get really good at it. But, like I said, I'm just trying to get a little better with the saw. I'm learning. Didn't get to do any filing or cleanup on this one because it broke. And I'm just going to put it aside and start another one. Here's another one that I just finished. This is the back of the penny. Didn't have any breaks on this one. It's ready for cleanup, but I think I'm going to pause. I noticed I was able to get a little better with some of my cuts. instead of focusing on filing these down, I mean, I always know I can take a file and I can file down the penny. It's a penny. It's not a lot of money to use one of these as a blank. So I think I'm just going to pull out another penny and just practice my cuts. I'm getting smoother with my cutting. I'm getting the feel of the saw and being able to turn the tight corners and things like that. And I think I can get down to where my cuts are much cleaner, much smoother, and don't require the cleanup. So why waste time filing? I can always file, right? I mean, you grab a file, you know, and you clean it up. So let's focus on the cutting. But for now, I just cut 2 of them. You know, you're kind of bent over the vise, you know, and really focusing. I tell you what, it's straining on the neck, right? So I think I'm going to take a break for a little while. Then I'm going to head over to the metal lathe and goof around with the project I've got started over there. And I'll come back to this maybe later today. I've got a couple of more pennies out here. I can always go in the house and pick up more. I got who knows how many of them in the piggy bank. And and we'll cut a few more. But let's take a little break and see what happens. I just got off the metal lathe and I had a successful failure. And what I mean by that is, take a look at this, okay? And I'll show you what this is, and then I'll explain how it failed. This is what it is. This is the center, goes on the spindle of my turntable and allows me to play 45 RPM records. Now, that's the one from my turntable in the house. My turntable out here in the shop doesn't have one, so I made one. And it actually turned out really nice, but I made one small miscalculation. This piece of aluminum is quite a bit larger. I had to turn it down to this diameter. And you'll notice the spindle on the bottom, how it sticks up past the bottom of the piece. What I did is I had turned a lip there that this could set flat all the way around 360 degree around on the turntable. And I turned a lip for that. But what happened is I didn't estimate, not thinking ahead, that's why you go to school on the first one, how much of this I probably had to turn down about that much, which basically turned my lip away. You can still see kind of the remnants of the lip, but yeah, it actually angled up and was the same height as the center spindle. So, and I had to do this because this is how I gripped it to face the outside and to turn it down. So the cool thing is, it was a failure because it now, when it sits on the turntable, let me show you what it looks like. You can see there's a little gap between the flattened and the actual piece. That's just not going to work because the record could slip under it and then, you know, get out of center and cause a problem. I need to return it with that lip. But the beauty of it is my idea worked, my execution worked, everything was great. I just should have measured the diameter of the original one and made sure that I had a lip that was, you know, that was going to compensate for that. So I'm going to get another disc cut off of my metal rod. This is the metal rod that I used, and you can see just how much material I had to turn away. So we're going to go back, we're going to get another wafer cut off of this rod, and I'm going to put it back on the lathe, and we're going to turn another one of these, and we will compensate for the amount we have to turn away and make sure we have a nice flat lip here, equivalent to this, so that it'll set flat on my turntable. That took a while to cut through that block of aluminum, and you'll notice it looks like there's 2 different levels here. I went part way in and then I backed out and I shaved the edge off of the waist end, just shaved it a little bit to create some more clearance for this, because what was happening is the chips would pile up on top of this and then it would cause it to, it would cause it to bind. So I made a little bit of a clearance to clean that out and let the chips more freely flow. I only extended as much of the cutter as I needed to make the cut. And I moved it forward as I cut so that I didn't have too much sticking out there. And I put a new edge on the cutter. I don't know how well you can see that, but I'm trying to focus there. Come on. There it is. You notice how it sticks out a little farther on this side. I gave it a little bit of an angle so that it would cut, you know, it would kind of go in at a point, and then it just cut it a little bit better that way, I thought. So it was worth a try. Initially it was flat, and I thought, well, let's just see what happens. But it worked out really well. I've got it cut. I'm not going to remove the disc from the chuck. I'm going to go ahead. I've got just a tiny bit of a lip around there. You can see that. I'm going to go ahead and flatten it. We're going to get it perfectly flat. Then we'll get our hole drilled in the center, and we'll create our relief underneath it here. And we'll make sure we leave enough room to have a nice flat surface for this to set on. Let me grab the other one on the turntable. You can see how much I've got to turn away there. It's quite a bit, but it's gonna work out a lot better. Like I said, I learned quite a bit on that first one. I've got my disc perfectly flat. Now what I'm going to do is drill the hole down the center, and then I'll use my calipers. I'll measure the diameter of this disc and mark the disc in here, and then I'll make sure I leave a lip like this on the inside. Last time I had the lip all the way out here, I ended up turning it away, so we won't make that mistake twice. Using my calipers, I found the exact diameter of the spindle on my turntable, drilled a hole. It is identical to this one, fits perfectly. I've gone ahead and marked the red is the outside of this. So bottom line, I just need to make sure I leave a lip inside of this red area. All that'll get turned away, and we should be in great shape. The bottom side of the adapter is done. I just basically hollowed it out so that I'd be able to grip the shoulder around this hole that I drilled, the center hole. And it looks like that's kind of thin, but it's really not. There's a chamfer in there, so it's deceiving. But I'll be able to change the jaws of my chuck. I'll be able to grip it by this centerpiece. And I know that'll work because I just did it on the other one that I just turned down. And then, of course, a lot of this meat is going, about that much of it's going to get turned away. This should set nice and square on the platen of my turntable. And then, of course, we'll also flatten the face. And I don't know, I may put a little decoration in it, just a little line or something, just to, you know, give it some style. But it's all finished up and ready to go. I hit it with a little 4/0 steel wool. It looks really nice. The next step is we'll get it off the lathe. I'll run in the house, get a 45, and we will test it on the stereo turntable. I grabbed a 45. Let's go ahead and drop that on the spindle. We'll pick the 45 up, drop it on there, release the, there we go, release the armature. Now I'm not going to be able to turn this up because if I do, I'll get tagged, but you can see it's spinning perfect. There's no issue. I put a nice little chamfer on the top to make it easy to drop the 45 onto the spindle. That is going to be awesome. I'm so happy to have it. You can see there's a spot for it to sit right back there. Let me get it off the turntable and we'll put it back there. Absolutely perfect. This was a really fun little project to do. I learned quite a bit. Now what I need to do is look at ways to speed the process up. I've got some tool steel. I might want to cut a few special angles on some tools to kind of help with chamfers and different things like that. Overall, it went nice. The worst part about it was cutting the disc off of the large rod of aluminum. I don't really have a good efficient way to cut that, so it's just a slow, painstaking process, because that's a pretty decent, decent, I think it's 1.5 inches, so it's a decent thickness. But yeah, I'm real happy with how this turned out. I think I may make another one for my stereo in the house just because I like it. It looks cool. I hope you guys kind of enjoyed the behind the scenes on that. I did not film a video. I didn't know the second one would turn out so nice. I figured there'd be 2 or 3 that are kind of, rough, and then I would get a nice one. But man, I'm real happy with how that turned out. Will I film a video now? I don't know. I'm thinking about going back and making another one. The worst part is I just don't feel like standing there and, like I said, cutting that disc off the rod. I just don't have an efficient way to do that. So the lathe does it just fine. It's just a painstakingly slow process. So with that in mind, let me see what other kind of trouble I can get into. I don't know if I want to cut another coin right now because, bent over the lathe. It's hard on the back. It's hard on the neck. I'm just out of sorts. I haven't done it for so long that, I need to kind of work myself back into it. But I think what I'll do now is, I don't know, I'm just going to kind of goof around and see what else I can get into. And I may cut a few more coins today. And heck, who knows, I may make another spindle adapter for my stereo. Well, I went in, had a bite to eat. I feel a little better. Like I said, got off my feet for a little bit. I think I'm going to make one more of those spindle adapters. I had talked a while back about my son getting into vinyl, and I had put together that turntable. I repaired it for him, and it actually has a spindle adapter with it. But I think these are just so cool, the aluminum ones, and so much better than the little plastic ones. And I really think he'll like it. So I think I'm going to make one more just for the heck of it. And I'm not going to bother filming it. I am not a machinist, And I am sure that if I took some training from a machinist, they could show me how to do this extremely quickly, extremely efficiently, and like a billion times better than I'm able to do it. But you know, if I'm careful and I take my time, I'm able to make this happen, and it's good enough for my one-off use. So I know some of you guys out there know machining really well, and I respect that. It's not something you learn in an afternoon, and so I'm not going to really publicize making these because I don't want to embarrass myself. But when all this COVID stuff gets over with, one of these days I need to get together with one of you guys. Maybe I come to your shop, or it'd be great if at some point maybe we could get you to come to my shop and tune my machine up. Make sure it's all there. Make sure it's set up right. Show me a few tricks. Show me a few tricks on how to sharpen some tools and how to use the thing, and learn some proper technique so that I can start building on that, because I would really enjoy it. So let's let all this nonsense get out here, hopefully first quarter of this year, and then maybe we can look at doing something like that, because I would love it. All right, I'm going to go make another one. So that's it for me. I won't take a bunch of photos of it because I don't want this video to be a whole lot longer than it's going to be, but I may show you the finished product when I'm... Initially, I said I wasn't going to do a lot of updates on this turning, but I wanted to let you guys know, the worst part about the first one was getting a disc cut off of the rod. And what I found is I moved my belt over on the lathe end, not on the back end, but on the lathe end. I moved it over one notch, which slowed the lathe down, gave it a little more torque, that low end and that heavier torque. And I cut through it in about a fifth of the time. It really sped the process up. So I'm super excited about that, because now I'm more comfortable making even more of these. And I may make a few. I got to see how long they take to make and if they're worth making. But I may make a few for, you know, other audiophiles out there. We'll just see how it goes. I just can't help myself. I'm so happy with how this one's turning out. It is just like a world of difference. This is the third one I've made. This one's going to be awesome. I'm ready to flip it around and cut it to the proper diameter, or turn it to the proper diameter, and then face off the other side. I love how this is turning out, and it's taken way less than half the time. I think I've got this, I've made an improvement, and I'm excited about that. Here's the most recent spindle adapter. I made this one in a fraction of the time it took to make the other one. I think it turned out really, really nice. I put just a little accent in there just to kind of dress it up a little bit. Yeah, I think I'll definitely be making a few more of these. I'm getting faster at them, and they're actually kind of enjoyable to make. Well, a tiny bit of bad news. I went in and tested this. I did some sanding. I used a little sandpaper on it just to kind of really clean it up so that I could polish it and get a nice shine on it. And evidently I sanded a bit too aggressively. It was exactly, I have the calipers set, it was exactly fitting inside the calipers when I started. Now it's a little loose. So I took it in the house, put it on the turntable, dropped a 45 on there, and there's a little bit of play in it. So I'm not going to be able to use this one. It's just got maybe a 32nd of an inch play. And I'm afraid that that'll allow the record to move just enough where it could cause an issue, or if it's, you know, if you force the record to one side, it's not perfectly centered, it could, you know, be a little off center or something. I don't know. So I'm going to toss this one aside. I'll come back out maybe tomorrow and see about turning another one. I mean, they're pretty easy. Now that I've got it figured out, this one was like, I'm thinking, gosh, I wish I would have took a look at what time I started. What time is it right now? It's 4:30. I would say about I think between an hour to an hour and a half on this one. And I think I could even do it quicker now that I've had the practice. So we're going to call it a night in the shop. I'm tired. I've been on my feet all day. This is not not normal for me anymore. I haven't been out in the shop. Haven't been on my feet like this a lot lately. So I'm a little tired, but I'm going to go in. We're going to edit this video. I got a few other things I want to do around the house, and I'll be back out here, I hope, tomorrow. I'll keep you guys posted, but I'd like to turn just a couple of more of those. They're a lot of fun to turn, and like I said, I've got probably still got a good 10-inch rod of aluminum over there, so there's plenty of material. And what I'll do next time is if I want to do the sanding to make it this soft and smooth, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and turn it just a little larger than the diameter I need, and then as I sand down, I'll shape it down with the sandpaper, and I'll use the calipers to dial it into the perfect size. The first one I did was a-okay, but I wasn't as critical about, got to get this thing smooth. I want it to be like, feel like glass, you know, and just got a little overzealous with that. But hey, you know what? You live and learn. I'm really excited how they're turning out. And we'll be back out here. I'll do some more pennies, cut some more pennies, get a little more practice, and we'll work on that lathe some more, and we'll have some fun out here. But for now, that's it, guys. I got to call it quits for the night, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon.